Be me, 24, working dead-end office job and still trying to figure out what went wrong with my life. Get invited to my college friend's wedding because apparently I'm still on his Christmas card list despite never talking. Decide to go because free food and open bar, plus maybe I'll see some familiar faces from the good old days. Walk into the reception hall looking like a discount men's warehouse model in my ill-fitting suit. Immediately spot my ex-girlfriend, Veronica, across the room talking to some bridesmaids. We dated for 3 whole years during college, lived together for 2 of them, shared a Netflix account and everything. Broke up senior year because she said I had no ambition and was emotionally unavailable, which was probably accurate. Haven't seen her since graduation when she moved to California to pursue her dream of becoming an influencer. Decide to be mature about it and go say hello like a functioning adult. Walk over with what I think is confident swagger, but probably looks like I'm constipated. Hey Veronica, I say. It's been a while. She turns around and gives me this blank stare like I'm a complete stranger. I'm sorry, she says. Do we know each other? My brain short-circuits for approximately 10 seconds. It's me, I say. We dated for 3 years in college. She squints at me like she's trying to solve a complex math equation. Oh my God, she finally says. You look so different. I didn't recognize you at all. Notice she's gotten some work done. Teeth are whiter, nose is smaller. Definitely some Botox action happening. Yeah, I grew a beard, I tell her, touching my patchy facial hair that took 6 months to achieve. No, it's not just that, she says. You've really let yourself go, haven't you? The audacity of this woman to roast me within 30 seconds of conversation. Thanks, you look great too, I reply with maximum sarcasm. She doesn't detect the sarcasm and says, thanks, I've been working with a personal trainer in LA. Starts going on about her lifestyle brand and how she's an entrepreneur now. Apparently she sells overpriced smoothie powders to desperate housewives on Instagram. That's amazing, I lie, really making moves out there. She nods enthusiastically. So what have you been up to? Still playing video games all day? The disrespect is reaching dangerous levels at this point. I have a job, I tell her, working in marketing for a tech company. Technically true, I process insurance claims, but the company uses computers, so it's tech adjacent. Oh, that's nice, she says dismissively. I remember you always talking about wanting to be a writer. Yeah, well, life happens, I mutter. She pulls out her phone and starts showing me pictures of her apartment in West Hollywood. This is my place, she says. 2-bedroom, 2-bath, pool access, and look at this view. The rent probably costs more than my entire monthly salary. Very nice, I say, wondering how smoothie powder pays for all this. She continues scrolling. And this is my boyfriend, Derek. He's a personal trainer to celebrities. Shows me a picture of some guy who looks like he was carved out of marble by Michelangelo. We're actually thinking about getting engaged soon, she adds casually. Feel like I'm being slowly murdered by her success and happiness. That's great, I force myself to say. Really happy for you. She puts her phone away and looks at me with what I can only describe as pity. So are you seeing anyone? She asks. Kind of, I lie, thinking about my relationship with Pornhub Premium. That's good, she says. You deserve to find someone who appreciates you. The condescension is so thick, you could cut it with a knife. Decide to change the subject before I completely lose my shit. Remember that time we drove to Vegas for spring break? I ask. She looks confused. Vegas? I don't think we ever went to Vegas together. Yes, we did, I insist. Junior year, we stayed at that terrible motel and you got food poisoning. She shakes her head. I think you might be mixing me up with someone else. My face when she's genuinely forgotten major events from our relationship. What about when we adopted that cat together? I try again. Cat? She says, I'm allergic to cats. Always have been. Starting to feel like I'm in some kind of Twilight Zone episode. The cat's name was Whiskers, I continue. You picked the name yourself. She laughs. I would never name a cat Whiskers. That's so basic. Realize she's either developed selective amnesia or I've been living in an alternate reality. Remember our first Valentine's Day? I asked desperately. We went to that Italian restaurant downtown. Which restaurant? She asks, looking genuinely confused. Antonio's, I say. You ordered the seafood pasta and complained about it being too salty. She stares at me for a long moment. I don't eat seafood. I'm pescatarian. You mean vegetarian? I correct her. No, pescatarian, she says. I eat fish, but not meat. That's literally the opposite of what you just said, I point out. She ignores my logic and continues. I've been pescatarian since high school. This is definitely not true because I have vivid memories of her destroying chicken wings like a wild animal. Decide to try one more memory that surely she can't have forgotten. What about graduation night? I ask. We had that huge fight about you moving to California. She thinks for a moment. Oh, right, that was you. Finally, some recognition. Thank the gods. Yeah, I say, relieved. And you said you needed space to find yourself. Actually, she corrects me, I said you were holding me back from my potential. The memory comes flooding back, and it's somehow worse than I remembered. You told me I was a loser who would never amount to anything, she continues cheerfully. And look how right I was, she adds with a smile that could freeze hell. The absolute savagery of this woman is truly impressive. Stand there speechless while she delivers this nuclear-level roast with the enthusiasm of a weather reporter. Anyway, she says, checking her Apple Watch, I should get back to the girls. Starts to walk away, but then turns back. It was nice seeing you again, she says. You should really consider hitting the gym. Walks away, leaving me standing there like I just got hit by a truck. Spend the rest of the reception drinking heavily and questioning my life choices. The bartender asks if I'm okay, and I tell him my ex just forgot 3 years of our relationship. That's rough, buddy, he says, but maybe she's doing you a favor. How do you figure? I ask. Listen, kid, he says while polishing a glass. Women rewrite history to protect their ego. She didn't forget, he continues. She chose to forget because remembering makes her look bad. Starts dropping some serious red-pilled wisdom while mixing drinks. You think she wants to remember dating some broke college kid when she's trying to flex her new life? That would make her look like she's settled, and modern women can't handle that narrative. Tells me he's been bartending weddings for 15 years and sees this pattern constantly. The hamster wheel is spinning overtime in her head, he explains. She has to reframe the past to justify her present choices. If you were important, she'd have to admit she made a mistake leaving you. But if you never mattered, then her upgrade looks even more impressive. This philosophical wisdom from a wedding bartender hits harder than expected. Plus, he adds, look at her lifestyle, that's not smoothie powder money. Raises an eyebrow knowingly. California is expensive, especially for Instagram thoughts. Realize this guy has seen some serious hypergamy in action. Women always trade up, he says, but they need to convince themselves the previous guy was never really competition. Selective amnesia is just cognitive dissonance with extra steps. Realize that Veronica has probably convinced herself that our relationship was insignificant to justify how it ended. Either that or the Botox has affected her brain function. Decide to embrace the situation and see how far this amnesia goes. Walk back over to her table where she's sitting with her friends. Excuse me, I say politely. I just wanted to apologize for earlier. She looks up confused. Apologize for what? For mistaking you for my ex-girlfriend, I continue. You look exactly like her, but you're obviously much more successful. Her friends start giggling and she looks pleased with the compliment. What was your ex like? One of her friends asks. Total train wreck, I say loudly. Lazy, no ambition, terrible taste in everything. Sounds awful, Veronica says, completely missing that I'm describing her past self. Yeah, I agree. She was also really bad in bed and had this annoying laugh. Her friends are eating this up while Veronica nods along sympathetically. You dodged a bullet there, she says seriously. Absolutely, I reply. Best thing that ever happened to me was getting away from that toxic situation. Walk away feeling like I just won some kind of psychological warfare. My roommate Kevin finds me by the dessert table looking smug. Why do you look like you just solved world hunger? He asks. Explain the entire situation, and he starts laughing hysterically. So she forgot your entire relationship, he says, and then you got her to trash talk herself. Pretty much, I confirm. That's either really sad or really hilarious, Kevin observes. Definitely both, I agree. Spend the rest of the night watching Veronica from across the room, marveling at her selective memory. She's telling people about her journey of self-discovery and personal growth. Apparently she's completely rewritten her college experience to exclude me entirely. Honestly impressed by her ability to gaslight herself. The open bar makes everything seem funnier than it probably is. Kevin points out that maybe this is her way of coping with regret. Or maybe, he suggests, she's just a narcissist who can't admit she wasted 3 years with a loser. Thanks for the pep talk, I tell him. Anytime, buddy, he says. Now let's get you home before you do something stupid. Agree, because I can feel the alcohol giving me ideas about confronting her again. On the drive home, I realized that maybe forgetting our relationship is the healthiest thing either of us could do. Those 3 years were mostly mediocre anyway, filled with Netflix binges and arguing about whose turn it was to do dishes. My face when I spent the entire night being upset about someone forgetting a relationship that wasn't even that good. That feel when you realize you've been romanticizing a past that was probably just as disappointing as your present. Kevin drops me off and I stumble into my apartment, slightly drunk and strangely relieved. Check my phone and see that Veronica has posted 17 Instagram stories from the wedding. In every single one, she looks like she's having the time of her life. Not a single mention of running into her ex-boyfriend, who she allegedly doesn't remember. Either she's an Oscar-worthy actress or she genuinely has erased me from her personal history. Honestly, don't know which scenario is more depressing. Fall asleep, wondering if this is what closure feels like or if I'm just too drunk to process my emotions properly. Wake up the next morning with a hangover and a strange sense of peace. Realize that being forgotten might actually be better than being remembered as a disappointment. That feel when you discover that irrelevance is its own kind of freedom. BME 23, software developer, working remote and making decent tendies. Actually have my life together for once, which is probably a cosmic mistake. Meet this girl Brooke on a Discord server for indie game developers. She's got this whole dark academia aesthetic going on, always posting screenshots of her code with black coffee and anime figurines. Profile picture is some anime girl with dead eyes, which should have been my first red flag. But I was thinking with the wrong head. We start talking about programming languages, and she's actually really smart. Knows Python better than most people I work with. Conversation shifts to personal topics, and she starts dropping atomic-level trauma bombs about her daddy issues. Being the white knight beta, I listen and offer support because more emotional intelligence. She tells me I'm different from other guys, that I actually understand her pain. Most men just want to fix me, she says, but you actually get it. Feel like maybe I found my manic pixie dream girl who appreciates emotional availability over Chad behavior. We start voice chatting late at night while we both code. Basically, digital cuddles for autists. Her voice is soft and monotone like she's permanently tired. After a few weeks, she suggests we meet up since we live in the same city. Agree to meet at this hipster coffee shop that probably charges more for a latte than I make per hour. Show up wearing my least wrinkled button-down shirt and jeans that don't have Dorito stains. She walks in looking exactly like her pictures, pale as paper, dark hair, wearing all black like she's cosplaying a funeral director. But she's actually cute in a I write sad poetry kind of way. Sit down and start talking about our projects, shared interests, typical orbiter conversation. Everything is going well until she starts talking about her self-destructive tendencies. Apparently she's been intentionally sabotaging good things in her life because happiness is cringe and normie. Tells me about how she quit her last job by sending her boss a manifesto about why wage slaving is killing her soul. I know it was retarded, she says, but I needed to feel alive instead of just existing. Red flags are multiplying faster than COVID variants, but I try to be understanding. Have you tried not being sad? I ask with peak male problem-solving energy. She looks at me like I just suggested she try breathing underwater. Anon, she says, sadness is my brand. Happy people are boring NPCs who consume product and get excited for next product. This is some galaxy brain depression logic that my normie software engineer mind cannot compute. Try to change the subject. Ask about her favorite anime. She starts explaining how she only watches shows where everyone dies because happy endings are unrealistic cope. Life doesn't have happy endings, she says. People just lie to themselves. Realize I'm on a date with the human embodiment of a black pill forum. Despite the doom posting, there's something magnetic about her nihilistic worldview. She's brutally honest about being broken in a way that feels refreshing compared to Instagram fake positivity. We end up talking for 3 hours about the meaninglessness of existence, and somehow I'm having fun. Walk her to her car and she says she had a good time, which is probably the first positive thing she's said all day. You're different, she tells me. Most guys ghost me when I start explaining why love is a social construct. Maybe I'm just as mentally ill as you are, I reply. She actually smiles and for a moment looks like a normal human being instead of a Tim Burton character. We start hanging out regularly after that, going to art galleries, watching foreign films where nobody speaks for 2 hours. She introduces me to bands with names like Eternal Sadness and Everyone Goes Away. I introduce her to my world of touching grass and eating food that isn't just energy drinks and sadness, slowly start to see glimpses of the person she could be if she stopped LARPing as a professional victim. She's actually funny. When she drops the existential dread act, has this savage humor that roasts everything. We're in my apartment one night after watching some pretentious film about a woman slowly going insane. "Anon," she says suddenly. "We need to talk." Oh shit, here we go. Time for the "it's not you, it's me" speech. "What's wrong?" I ask, preparing for emotional devastation. "You're too stable," she says like she's diagnosing a terminal illness. "What do you mean too stable?" "Like creepily stable," she continues. "You have a routine, you shower daily, you probably even make your bed. The accuracy of this assessment is disturbing. You've got your life figured out and it's honestly unsettling. Explain that having basic life skills is not a character flaw." "That's exactly the problem," she says, getting animated. "I'm supposed to be in my villain era right now. I need to date losers and addicts who understand the struggle. You're like this beacon of functional adulting and it's ruining my aesthetic." Try to process this information, but it's like she's speaking an alien language. "What if I started doing drugs?" I suggest, half serious. "No," she says firmly, "that would be performative dysfunction. I need authentic train wreck energy, not cosplay mental illness." Realize she's gatekeeping being a disaster like it's some exclusive club. "So what exactly are you saying?" I ask. "I'm saying you're too good for me," she replies, but not in the self-deprecating way. "You're literally too mentally healthy for my current character arc." Starts explaining her theory about how she needs chaos and drama to feel alive. "Stable relationships are for NPCs," she says. "I need someone who will either save me or completely destroy me." "You're not doing either, you're just being consistently decent." That's not how the protagonist's journey works. Point out that real life isn't an anime and maybe she should touch grass occasionally. "Grass is for normies," she counters. "Suffering builds character. All the best artists were mentally ill. Look at Van Gogh. He didn't paint sunflowers because he was well-adjusted." Can't argue with her logic, even though it's weapons-grade autism. We debate for hours about whether choosing dysfunction is based or just elaborate coping. She's convinced that fixing her problems would make her personality disappear. I try to explain that being happy doesn't automatically make you boring. "Name one interesting person who isn't at least slightly unhinged," she challenges. "Spend 10 minutes thinking and honestly can't come up with good examples." "Exactly," she says smugly. "Sanity is the death of creativity." Realize we're fundamentally incompatible because she's addicted to being broken. "I don't want to fix you," she says softly. "You're perfect as you are. But I also can't let you save me because then I'd just be another basic bitch." This is simultaneously the most honest and most insane breakup speech ever. We agree to part ways since we both understand the cosmic impossibility of our situation. She hugs me goodbye and whispers, "You're gonna make some normie very happy." Just make sure she actually wants to be happy. A few weeks pass and I don't hear from her, probably for the best. Get back on dating apps and match with normal girls who like hiking and golden retrievers. Everything feels vanilla compared to our conversations about the void. Match with this girl, Ashley, who uses laughing emojis unironically and thinks Target is fancy. She's sweet and optimistic and everything. Brooke wasn't. But something feels missing, like eating plain rice after getting addicted to spicy food. 3 months later, I'm at Barnes & Noble and spot Brooke in the philosophy section. She's reading Camus because of course she fucking is. Well, she says with that familiar dead inside smile. Ask how her villain era is going and she actually laughs. Plot twist, she says. Turns out choosing suffering is just another form of cope. Explains how she realized that being professionally damaged was just fear disguised as aesthetics. I started actually working on myself instead of romanticizing being broken. Shocking development, I know. She seems different. Still goth, but less like she wants to die. "Remember when I said you were too stable?" she asks. Turns out I was just too unstable for anyone decent. We talk for like an hour and she's genuinely funnier without the constant doom energy. "I owe you an apology," she says eventually. "You were showing me what normal looked like and I was too scared to try it. Because if I got better, what would make me special?" Feel vindicated but also sad that we couldn't figure this out earlier. "Are you seeing anyone?" she asks with suspicious casualness. Tell her about Ashley and how things are going okay, but something feels off. "Let me guess," she smirks. "She's nice, but has the personality of Wonder Bread." The accuracy is uncomfortable. Maybe you need someone who matches your energy level, she suggests, but also someone who's done the character development arc. We're both thinking the same thing, but neither wants to say it first. Want to hang out sometime? She asks. Just as friends, no trauma dumping. Agree, because I'm curious about this new version of her. We start texting again, meeting up for coffee, actually having normal conversations. She's still deep and philosophical, but without wanting to die every 5 minutes. Tells me about how she's been working on herself and learning to enjoy simple pleasures. I watched a Marvel movie last week, she says proudly, and didn't write a 15-page essay about why it represents the death of cinema. This is character growth of biblical proportions. We're hanging out at her place watching something that doesn't require subtitles. This is weird, she says, feeling content without feeling guilty about it. Look at her and realize she's become the person I always thought she could be. Brooke, I say, I need to tell you something. She mutes the TV and gives me her full attention. I think I'm still in love with you, I admit, but with who you are now, not the trauma LARPing version. She stares at me for a long moment and her eyes start getting watery. Anon, she whispers, I was hoping you'd say that, but I needed to become someone worth loving first. Starts crying and tells me how much she regretted being too broken to accept happiness. You were the first person who saw my potential instead of my problems, and I pushed you away because I was addicted to being miserable. Pull her close and she fits perfectly against my chest. I'm not the same girl who thought suffering was a personality trait, she says. I want to build something real with you now. She looks up at me and her eyes aren't dead anymore. They're alive and full of actual hope instead of manufactured despair. Kisses me deeply and it tastes like second chances and character development. You sure you can handle dating someone stable now? I tease. She laughs and pulls me closer. Baby, you make me feel like a butterfly. Reference hits different when it's not ironic. That feel when someone chooses growth over aesthetic and becomes their final form, my face. When the girl who was too broken for love learned to love herself first.